Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
I was in the store trying to explain to the owner that, I have a mask exemption, so I cannot be turned away. But anyway, I was kicked out of the store. So I decided, this just can't end here. I can't just leave without my painkillers. And I told her that I'm going to be outside protesting.
Do you miss the good old days? I'm talking about the days when it was common knowledge that discriminating against people because they're medically, physically, or behaviorally unable to do the same things that most people can do was a bad thing. Pre-COVID-19, pre-mandated new norm. I miss those days. At rebelnews.com, it's kind of crazy how many examples we've given of people who are getting discriminated against because they're unable to wear a mask. People like this BC mom who tried to take the TransLink home only to end up getting arrested, dragged off the train, and ended up with a broken rib from an incident that stemmed from an officer just deciding, in complete contrast to BC's ministerial order, that her mask exemption isn't valid. Or this gentleman who tried to just simply work out with a mask he's worn many times at the gym, all of a sudden being told it's the wrong mask and ending up getting arrested as well. Now today I have an interesting interview with a woman who took a different approach to handling how she was discriminated against in a pharmacy in Parksville, BC. Now, Ela Tanase has a thing or two in common with the prisoners from the 2005 hunger strike. That's right. Ela took a hunger strike on, and you'll have to watch this interview to figure out if it works. Now, she's also one of our newest Fight the Fines cases where we provide free legal counsel to help Canadians who are receiving tyrannical fines for things like being exempt from wearing a mask and just trying to get their medication. Now, if you want to support that, or if you are one of those people, you can head to fightthefines.com. But let's listen to what Ela was thinking when she did the strike and how it turned out for her.
I've been going here to this pharmacy for years. My entire family has been giving the business to this pharmacy, and they know us, my husband and I. So we were always happy with their service prior to this incident. So other than this incident, we have nothing to complain about them. So, but unfortunately, this was a bit of a letdown from them because I don't think I would have expected more from professionals. People who are in this area, to treat people better, people who are claiming the mask exemptions, and to be more understanding and more compassionate. I mean, even here in BC CDC guideline, I just want to read a sentence that it refers to these mask exemptions, and it says that some people cannot wear a mask for psychological, behavioral, or health conditions, and be respectful of people who cannot wear a mask, which it didn't happen in my case.
No, it's not happening in a lot of cases. We've covered a lot of reports here at rebelnews.com in BC, and you're absolutely right. Now, how did you communicate with them that you had a mask exemption? What did that look like?
First, I wasn't allowed to go in. I claimed my mask exemption at the door, which is always guarded by one of the staff. Eventually, because I kept being denied entry, I used the exit door. I went in, I picked my stuff, and when I went to pay, I was told that the system froze, so the purchase cannot be done. And
maybe there was a code red that popped up. she made it through the exit, get everything shut down, you know?
I wasn't deterred by that because I was willing to wait for as long as it took to be fixed. In the meantime, the store owner, one of the store owners, was notified by the situation, and she came out. And I told her again that I'm a mask exempt. I was asked for a proof, and I said I don't have a proof. I don't have to provide one. But I said you can. I mean, I suggest that if you're interested in, you can check my medication. You have access to my medical history, my medication history. You can even pick up the phone and call my doctor. It wouldn't have been the first time they would do that. They would have done that. Because, I mean, unfortunately, the doctor in BC, at least my doctor, told me that she cannot provide me with a note, a medical note, because the doctors in BC are not allowed to do that. At least this is what I was told by my doctor back in the summer when I first called her to talk about mask exemptions.
You raise a good point there. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I have seen that some doctors do write exemptions, but you're not the only one to say that they tried to get a mask exemption and were told by the doctor that the doctor's not able to write it. So we have doctors in some cases saying they can't write exemptions. Then we have places of businesses discriminating against people who are exempt. And we have a ministerial order that very clearly outlines 10 different types of exemptions from wearing a mask. And nowhere in that order does it say that the exemption has to be signed off by a doctor. Now let's get to the hunger strike.
Yeah. Okay.
So tell us what was going through your mind when you decided to go through the strike. How long did it last? What were the results?
It was a thing of a spur of the moment thing when I was in the store trying to explain to the owner that I have a mask exemption, so I cannot be turned away. But anyway, I was kicked out of the store. So I decided, this just can't end here. I can't just leave without my painkillers. And I told her that I'm going to be outside protesting. I decided to do that because I was so infuriated by the situation and the attitude there. They were so abrupt, so there was no compassion from people who are always claiming they're compassionate. Canadians are always making a big deal about being compassionate, and which makes them different from other people. But, I was surprised that in this situation, being in a pharmacy, dealing with a pharmacist, this didn't show up. This compassion wasn't there. I mean, it was kind of weird. So I waited outside. In the meantime, they called the police. The pharmacist. Even I left the pharmacy. I decided to wait outside. In the meantime, they called the police. Probably one of the staff while I was debating with them inside. They called the police. Police show up. The police let me know that if I'm going back in the pharmacy, I will be charged with trespassing. And I said, I won't do that. I don't want to make anybody's life more difficult than it should. I was just here. We was in the rain, doing my hunger strike, my thing, and I won't cause any trouble. And he left, Eventually, half an hour later, he waited in the car for about half an hour, make sure that everything stays calm, and then eventually he left. And I stayed about 4 hours the first day. That was my first day, and And then I left. I went back home, before letting the gentleman at the door know that, I'm coming again
You'll be
tomorrow.
back.
Prepared with a sign.
Yeah. And then how many days did it go on?
About 6 days, yes.
Wow.
And the next day I got fined. That's
Okay,
the fine came the next day. So the next day I came prepared with my sign. When I got there, I put the sign aside because I was planning on going the inside, which I did. And again, from the exit door, so I didn't encounter any resistance. And because I knew if I am going through the entry, I'm going to do the same, drill. And inside, they told me to go out. This time I refused to leave the pharmacy, and I said I wait here for the police because they saw I'm going to call the police. I said it's okay. I'll be here in my corner. I stayed out of the way, out of the other people's way, the client's way. So and I say I wait here quietly for the police to show up. I'm not leaving until I get served. That was my point. So they call the police. The police show up. Again, before the police showing up, I told them again. I showed. This time I came with paper. Sorry, I forgot to mention. This time I came prepared. And aside from the sign, I had those paper, the one you read from, the leaflet from the Human Rights Commissioner office, plus the BCCDC guideline. So I came well prepared, and I showed them, and I told them that your rules, if you have some rules, you have a plan, COVID plan, like any other, you have the right probably to do that, like any other business, but your rules cannot supersede the BC CDC guideline.
Right. They have the plan. They can put a plan in place that discriminates against people, but they also can run into consequences for doing so.
Yeah, because I said, you have a contract, a licensing contract with BC government, so you can't supersede, your rules cannot supersede their guidelines, as far as I know, because if you do so, you are at fault of committing a discrimination towards me, So I said the same thing to the police. When they came and they find me, I showed them the paper. It didn't work eventually. And I got fined, and then I left the premises because I didn't want to escalate the situation more than it was.
To be. Yeah,
it needed to be. And but I went. I picked up my sign, and I went. Next to the pharmacy, which it happened to be just along the farm. It was along the highway. The place where I was standing, because the pharmacy is just by the highway. So I would stay there for 6 days. They offered me to bring some pills outside for me, so I do the purchase outside. But this was like ridiculous.
Well, how many days did it take them to offer to give you the pills outside?
They must. I don't know. So they came the third day, probably.
Okay, because it does say that you can't refuse service without offering some sort of accommodation. So to take 3 days to do something like that, it's really outrageous, especially from a pharmacy that's supposed to be looking out for the health of individuals. For them to blatantly ignore BC's public health recommendations that include mask exemptions is quite ironic. Now, you did receive a $230 fine. You have disputed that, but how would you like free legal counsel from top-notch lawyers from our legal clinic to help you actually fight that fine?
Yeah, I would like that very much, and I will thank you for that.
Well, thanks to our supporters who are making it possible by donating at fightthefines.com. We are happy to team up with you. And so your story does have a bit of success in that after the strike went on, you were served and they have stopped discriminating against you. Am I right for being exempt from wearing masks?
Yes. I've been in the pharmacy after the 6 days. I was let in, and I went there about 4 or 5 times since then. Yeah. So I'm allowed. They allow me in now without a mask. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ela. This is quite a courageous stance that you took, and I'm glad that they did come around and have started to serve you without a mask on. So thank you so much for coming on Rebel News, and we are happy to team up with you as well. If you want to join us on the right side of this fight, bring back some normalcy, some freedom to Canada, please head to fightthefines.com. Donate whatever you can. We've got a legal clinic that's developed from all of this madness that is helping people who have received tyrannical fines, or in some cases, even criminal charges for doing things that Canadians should be free to do. We appreciate your support, and so do they.